Let's talk about some stuff. Tried to do this last night. I was having a hard time. Um, um, this whole national situation is taking a toll on me. Um, I'm frustrated that the people I'm talking to in my life, many of them are just disconnected. Don't want to know, don't think, or they're listening to their little MAGA adjacent podcast trying to tell them that everything's okay. And I'm just supposed to accept that. Probably this week, I probably had the last conversations with two of my friends. And that makes me sad. But I'm not going to sit around and pander to, even it's through a proxy, I'm not going to pander to this unethical, immoral cabal of thieves, rapists, pedos, and con artists. No, no, I absolutely refuse. And if you think you're above it or it doesn't matter to you, or like I said, you listen to a certain podcast and that justifies, the, in one district court, the judge found out that the federal government had violated court orders thousands of times. But if you listen to your little, Nazi adjacent podcast, and they tried to, smooth it over in your head that everything's okay, even though we have a lawless federal government that's literally doing whatever it fucking wants. Whatever it wants to do here, whatever it wants to do around the globe. Okay. And remember the thing I've been telling you for many, many, many fucking years? That the entire philosophy since the late 1970s with the corporatists and now theocratic nationalists, right and far right, is the entire system of politics and governments works around ingratiating the wealthy with government funds and tax breaks. So the very first thing they did in this administration, in Dear Leader Porn Star Humper Part 2, okay, was give a $4.1 trillion tax break to the wealthiest people in the country, knowing they're going to start a nine-front war. Go back to W. Bush. Tax breaks, let's go shopping. I'm going to get into multiple 20-year wars. And guess who's going to pay for them? Well, who paid for the bank bailouts? The middle class. People who earn a paycheck. People don't have giant portfolios managed by, Fisher Investments. They have a savings account. What'd you do? You took their savings account to just a smidgen over 0% interest earned. Okay, so you took it out of the middle class's ass. This is exactly what they just did again. They knew they were going to start a nine-front war, 10 if you include Main Street USA. They knew this is where they were going. What was the first thing they did? Ingratiate themselves with re-regulating wealth as a protection mechanism for the people who are already wealthy. Now, one thing I want to bring up early in this is going to be all over the place because I didn't prepare anything. I'm just speaking off the top of my head. Um, I usually have a bunch of notes here. I have a little outline of what I want to talk about. Um, not this morning. um, there are because the second term of Dear Leader is going so badly. The far right and right wing outlets are now changing the way the polling is being done. Okay. Iran is a glorious political success because they took all the independents and all the Republicans who don't agree with Trump out of the polling, and they're creating new. MAGA says 84% approval rating on the war in Iran. Okay. That's just manipulation. It's not reporting polling. MAGA is not a political party. There are still other constructs within the Republican Party, whether MAGA likes it or not. But this is just a compendium of the bad road Republicans have been on. It started in 1978 when they went from okay to getting fucking pretty corrupt and horrible. Post bank bailouts and then the Trumpian period, it's a fucking disaster. It's a fucking disaster. You know, if we're going to go to war, why don't we prepare to go to war? You can't tell me, and it's not true that there was any sort of immediate threat to anybody because they briefed Congress on the exact opposite, according to several articles I read. Okay. Um, we could have, but even if you say, oh, we had to deal with Iran because Iran's a bad guy. Oh, yeah, bad guy. You can say bad guy about half the countries on fucking earth. Okay. If you really wanted to use Trump's, well, not even Trump's, okay, because Trump is not running the country. The chairman of the board, the real president, Stephen Miller, okay, who whispers into the dementia patient's ear and he goes, "Ah," then falls asleep. Okay. Um, he did it yesterday in the meeting. Oh, falls asleep. Um, they just decided, we're gonna start. We're going to use authoritarian force, like this is Nazi fucking Germany or East Germany Stasi or some shithole fucking period of the Philippines, like Marcos. Okay. And they're just going to declare war. But the first thing they're going to do is make sure the wealthy stay wealthy. That's the big goal. They don't care if they topple Iran or not, or any other country. Because again, half the countries in the world, you could say, oh, they're like Venezuela, they're like Cuba, they're like Iran. Let's go invade them. You could literally say that about half the countries on earth. Okay. By the time we got to, I don't know, our 10th or 15th country, America would be dead broke. America would be going out of business. And was this ever a limited invasion or a limited strike to deal with their nuclear program, whatever limit thing they try to put on this, whatever governing bullshit they try to put out there as a press release? Trump just posted, and I'm going to quote this. Today, Iran will be hit very hard. It will suffer complete destruction. Okay, he's going to blitzkrieg Iran. The government, the military, the men, women, and children. He's just going to obliterate the country, even though they don't know what obliterate means. They don't know what imminent means. And they don't know what obliterate means because they keep using those two words wrong. Okay, you cannot have an immediate or intimate problem for 47 years. That's not what the fucking word means. Now, let's talk about the justification for Iran, because all the rubes, including some of my friends who I probably won't talk to anymore, okay, literally think there's some magic closet door in Iran. And we open it up, it's going to take us to some Narnia grade utopia run by some Christian lion. This whole war is more bullshitty than Vietnam and Iraq combined. Combined. Because if you couldn't hold the ground in Helmand province, how the fuck are you going to hold the ground in Iran? Are you going to hold it by total destruction, complete destruction? Are we going to do to Iran what the Nazis did to Stalingrad? Just level cities? Is that our plan? And if you think they weren't going to actually put boots on the ground and actually invade, you're asleep at the fucking wheel. You literally have this stupid Pollyanna sense about you because the entire 82nd Airborne is about to hit Iran with about 10 other elements. Okay. multiple venues reporting. I told you 3 days ago, all the troops are at the airport. If you think this is a limited engagement or these are just more strikes, okay, you're a fool. You're just a fool. Okay. We will fight the war in Iran until Trump gets Trump Tower Tehran. That's the end goal here. Okay. Because it can't be what they're talking about because every time they talk, they're lying about something. When you say you obliterated on June 25th, 2025, when you were interviewed by Fox News, you said you had, quote, totally obliterated the Iranian nuclear program at Fordow. Now we're on a full on invasion and yet another forever war. And these proclamations that Trump is making, you just need to unconditionally surrender. After a week, you think these zealots are going to surrender to you, the known rapey pedo? No, they're not. No, they're not. Okay, when you kill a religious leader like the leader of the Shia worldwide, he has over 200 million followers. You think they're just going to collapse? Oh, you're right, Big Daddy. You're now our ruler. Can you send ICE to our country to beat the shit out of our women and children next? I'm sure there's a grandma in a food cart you can kick the living shit out of. We're being set up to fail. Do you realize that? I'm not saying that hyperbolically or just a throwaway comment. No, we are actually being set up to fail. They spent every time there's a Democrat in the White House. This is why I hate the left-right orthodoxy. I hate it. It's the dumbest construct in the universe. When the Democrats have a president in office, the debt and the deficit is the worst thing in the universe, and it's all Democrats' fault. And we're gonna go bankrupt, and we're all gonna die because there's too much debt and deficit. A Republican gets in office, whether it's Reagan, only Republican that didn't do it was Daddy Bush, H.W. Bush. He raised taxes because voodoo economics was fucking stupid. Reagan's voodoo economics. Okay. You cannot build an 880 ship navy during peacetime with tax cuts. Okay. So the last Republican who did not have his head stuffed squarely in his asshole was H.W. Bush. Because Reagan did it, Junior W. Bush did it, and Trump, that's his mantra. Give tax breaks to me and my friends, and then go start spending money. Look at Kristi Noem, a $220 million ad campaign to promote herself. $220 million. Remember, they just took healthcare away from tens of millions of people. 20 million, one article I read. 20 million people just flat out lost the ability to go see a doctor. But Kristi Noem in different cosplaying costumes, like she's working in community theater, had to make $220 million worth of ads. Because somehow beating up the Somali grandmother and making your own rising star through an ad campaign, that makes America good. Makes America look like fucking assholes. Name a third world despot society. We're looking as bad as they are now. The corruption is the same. The hypocrisy is the same. And the justifications for Iran is the rapture. And people are going, "Oh my God, yeah, this is it, yeah." Now, I want to have a special comment to the white suburban Christian women who are dancing on TikTok. Fuck you, You soulless bitches. Okay? We're about to send soldiers and Marines into harm's way, and many of them are not coming back. And you're dancing on your sunroom's couch going, oh, Jesus is coming back. Oh, it's the Armageddon. Oh, yes, I love it. Praise Donald Trump. Okay. This is how I know God isn't real. Because if God was real, that woman dancing on the couch and celebrating the deaths of human beings in war would have been smited immediately with a lightning bolt, and the whole house would have burned down. And then Jesus would have been sitting there out front with a cup of tea going, who's next? Because we didn't, I don't, and this is something I've said before, but it's really coming to a head now. I don't know which book you're reading. Because if you're telling me a story made up by a British preacher in the 19th century is your excuse to launch a holy war against Christians and Muslims and Jews in the Middle East, that's insane. That is literally certifiable one flew over the cuckoo's nest insane. The rapture for the 50,000th time is not in the Bible. But we're going to use it as the excuse to spend $1 trillion or more fighting a religious war. I got to give one credit to the guy who looks like Einstein compared to dear leader porn star humper W. Bush. At least I got to give him credit when he sat down with the Muslims and the Amines, whatever you fucking call them, the preachers, the padres on the Muslim side, whatever clown show, magical mystery theater guy. He sat down with them and said, we're not at war with you. We're at war with your religion. Okay. Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump just said, we're at war with your religion. Marco Rubio, the dumbest man in government. Marco Rubio, actually dumber than Bill Maher or Joe Rogan combined. Okay. Marco Rubio, this is a religious war. Okay. So if you're a non-believer like me, who tried to be nice all his adult life, even though I caught on really fucking early about the bullshit. I was raised Catholic. Okay. By the time I was 6 or 7, I was agnostic. By the time I was in my early teens, I was an atheist. The thing that got me suspicious when I was a kid, my parents dropped me off at the big castle in Springfield for a weekend confab for the kids. And what it was actually was a massive brainwashing operation targeted at young children. Okay. Luckily, I was an intelligent, precocious kid, and I was not easily swayable. Yeah, I've always been like this. um, Still remember vividly. Now that I'm talking about that, I'm picturing the cathedral basement, or the rectory basement, wherever we met the first night, and all the kids are there. The bishop's there. They're giving the little speeches to the parents before the parents leave and leave us for this little church camp that's going to run all weekend. And this crypt keeper nun, just after the parents left, the crypt keeper nuns came in. The oldest nuns came in, with the wiggling 92-year-old hands, and they had these little cartoon books, and they were trying to indoctrinate using false information in their anti-abortion, fake pro-life message. They literally showed us little kids cartoon books of babies being shoved through Cuisinart food processors and claimed that was medicine, claimed that was an abortion. So when I got home, you got to find one of the older relatives that won't be like my mom and dad. My mom and dad would lie about anything if they were uncomfortable about it. If they didn't want to talk about it, which was about 90% of the stuff I asked questions about as a kid, they just lied or told me to shut up, or if they were really embarrassed and offended, they would just start beating us. So, corporal punishment when I was growing up was every day. Yeah. I've been beaten so many times with a wooden spoon. I should have a black belt. Okay. And a lot of it was over just asking questions. So, I had to find a cool old relative, my Uncle Jimmy. And I go, why do they show us cartoons like that? And he sat me down and explained it to me. And I'm like, okay. They have this ideology that's not based on facts. This was in the early 70s. Okay. Um, and they don't know what medicine is. My Uncle Jimmy's wife at that time was a registered nurse. So at least he had heard about some things off. And she's like, yeah, my wife's a nurse and they have to do stuff sometimes to help, you know, pregnant ladies. And sometimes, the baby doesn't make it. Just like sometimes when you have a pregnant cow, the cow doesn't have a successful calf. I mean, it happens in humans too, but they want to demonize it because they're trying to recruit cult members. And I had that conversation and I was like, okay, now I understand what religion is really about. It's about controlling the way you think. It isn't about building faith in a better thing or teaching you community or anything. No, it's literally about indoctrinating you in falsehoods. So now we've started a 14 country regional war, which is part of if you include Main Street USA and the Cuba blockade, a 10 front war from America. The 10th war front for America. 10th. In an anti-war president administration, or that's allegedly what we've been told. And the reason for it is because they're so Christian. Hmm, hmm. They're so Christian, they believe a mythology from the 19th century, which is, a long time after, the Bible books were written. Okay, they weren't written at, zero common era, when they pretend Jesus was around. Because there's no historical evidence whatsoever that Jesus and Nazareth was a real historical figure. None whatsoever. Many of I think, Nebuchadnezzar is real, but like others like Esther, like they're putting Esther in the Texas curriculum next to Cesar Chavez, trying to claim that Esther from the Bible was a real person. And it's just as real as the guy we knew about from the 1960s and 70s in Cesar Chavez. Uh, they're breaking the minds of Americans to the point where people are buying bullshit that is harmful to themselves. It's harmful to America. It's harmful to our country. It's harmful to our cities and our neighborhoods and our families. We're going broke. We're going fucking broke. We're 38 trillion dollars in debt. And your answer is go rapture $1 trillion war. But after they put $4 trillion more in debt on the books. Are you getting the con yet, America? Why does it take so many people? What? So many people do not understand how they're getting screwed and how this country is being deconstructed for a certain tiny group's profit and power. You might as well go back to a feudal fucking king and lord and duke system because you've just replaced that monarchical system with a neo-corporate feudalism system. Because they're telling you flat out they do not believe in democracy anymore. And if you're into, these revelations about these young Republican groups, another one just came out of a Florida campus, they are pro-Nazi. Not not the Proud Boys, not some other idiot gang in America today. They like the Nazis from the 1930s. They think the Nazis were the right way to do it. So if you think Trump and JD Vance and Bannon is going to be bad, the next generation is far worse. They're outwardly Nazi. Swastika, arm salute, the whole thing. Okay. Joseph says we are going to be the new Gaza. Well, yeah, I think Iran's the new Gaza, but we could be next after that. Well, it'll be Iran, Cuba, then us. Because if the bombs fall on Cuba this weekend, I will not be surprised. I'm hearing a lot of chatter that we're ramping up that to be a live combat zone as well. Oh, and speaking of chatter, I've been playing with web software defined radio, and I found a great web SDR site out of the Netherlands. And I've been playing around with shortwave and AM and the upper sideband shortwave. Picked up some of the jamming signals. China is jamming the shit out of people. Iran's jamming the shit out of people. You can see it in the waterfall graph. The jam signals, they're pretty clear. And also the number stations for Iran woke up. I first saw that on YouTube. I did a really good video, showed the frequencies and everything. Then I went out and I found a couple of the number stations in the shortwave. Um, One was down in the like 7,300 band, and the other one was up in the 1,100 band. But pretty clear that they were that these are the old number stations rebroadcasting now. And by the way, number stations with John Cusack. It's on Tubi right now. If you don't know what a number station is, watch that movie. It's pretty fun. I like John Cusack. I think he's a really good actor. Like a lot of the movies he's been in. Um, and he's in that one as a protection agent for an intelligence officer who works in the number stations in Britain. And of course, something goes wrong and everything like that. But yeah, one of the things that's so infuriating to me right now is this whole concept of war, not war. War, not war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. War, not war. It was a real smart civilization. It went to the wayside. Yeah. Um, Now, everything they told they wanted to fix under Trump 2.0 is failing. Oil prices are skyrocketing. We'll be $100 a barrel before Monday. And not even COVID caused this level of price spikes and inflation. You're about to go through a lockdown grade inflation cycle over the next year to 18 months, and it's going to destroy a lot of families. And it's going to start, you know, waterfalling down. Families can't afford the basics, can't afford your medical bills. They're not going to be remodeling their homes. They're not going to be buying new cars. They're not going to be going on vacation. Okay. And that's a problem because America's tourist industry has been waylaid by tariffs. Nobody wants to come here anymore, especially Canadians. Okay. ICE, brown people don't want to come here. Why? Because they're afraid of getting the shit kicked out of them by ICE for no good goddamn reason. You know, they're just extracting money out of the system. They're just taking, consolidating wealth faster than we've ever seen I mean, shit, if Carnegie and Rockefeller could have done this, we'd have better museums and colleges. Because that's the sad part. The last cycle we went through with the ultra rich, at least they built shit. At least we have Carnegie Hall. At least we have Carnegie Mellon University. One place applied like 10 times. I could not get in. Really like to work in the computer engineering or science department at great. I already worked at one research lab many years ago. Haven't been able to get back one into one. I also tried through a colleague to try to get into the Allen Institute, but no luck there. But yeah, the extraction is at such a grade now. It's just, And we have beyond the oil prices, beyond the inflation you're going to see in your groceries again. I mean, all your food stuff's going to skyrocket. Restaurants are going to be in trouble because restaurants are getting to the point like my son's. My younger son's got a great thing going on. He's got multiple gigs. He's into music direction and theater and so like that. He's got multiple gigs going on. He's making a bunch of cash and everything, but still he feels it's way too expensive to go out to eat. Like he and his buddy went out and had a pizza at the beer garden, and they're like, "Wow, yeah, I can't believe what a couple of drinks and a small pizza cost." So these oil price spikes, they're gonna go all the way up. The, things are starting to shut down in the Middle East. One of the largest natural gas plants in the world is shut down in Qatar. Okay, a giant, not one of the largest, but there's several more which are some of the largest, and they're in the same vicinity. One of the largest aluminum smelters just shut down in the Middle East. Okay, you shut down two or three more. Chip manufacturing stops. Airline manufacturing stops. Oh, you need the lightweight bodies for your EVs? Ooh, either your EV cost is going to skyrocket, your electric vehicle, or they're just not going to be made. They're going to shut down the assembly lines till the aluminum becomes available again. The scary thing is you don't have to hit the aluminum plant directly. All you got to do is hit the power station nearby, and you can take out several smelting plants. It takes like 100 megawatts a day to run a smelter. It's a huge. You take alumina, the precursor product, you stuff it full of electricity and oxygen, and you get aluminum out of it. And you got to be really careful. If you get an alumina uh, hydroxide layer, it can explode. Um, and the thing is, once you fully shut down an aluminum smelting plant, it takes 6 months to a year to restart it. One's already down. What happens when you have two or three more that go down? The one that went down, I think, is uh, 500,000 tons a year. But within Iranian drone and missile striking distance, there's three more that are multi-million ton facilities. And again, hit the power station or the power plant in between two smelting plants, you drop them both. Okay. Once the pots aren't liquid anymore and they go solid, you got to throw those pots away. Those pots have to be broken up. You got to take the aluminum or the precursor out. You got to throw it out. Oh, here's the thing. If the aluminum doesn't show up, there's a lot of the casings and stuff like that and chips are still aluminum. If they can't get the products they need, it takes months to get a chip from start to finish. Okay. So if you're halfway through the cycle, let's say you're at the 60-day mark, okay, and the aluminum supply stops in South Korea or Taiwan, you got to stop the assembly line. And guess what? All the chips that are halfway through, all of those have to be scrapped. Okay. AI has already caused a massive memory and CPU and GPU shortage and hard drive shortage. All computer parts are just like insanely expensive. I am so glad I built my shit out. I rebuilt my son's workstation last year. He bought most of his parts. I give him a hand me down graphics card, RTX 2080 GPU, to save him a little money. I have several. In fact, I have another one sitting on the shelf over there, plus my spare workstation in the other room has a 2080 Titan in it, and this guy has a 5090 RTX in it. I wouldn't want to buy the memory I bought or the hard drives I bought. Nothing for this rig. This rig was already super expensive. This is a crazy build. It's the fastest, most elite workstation I've ever built in my life. I built thousands of them in my career, but this is the most badass thing I've ever built, and it cost $7,200 as a workstation, and that does not include the monitor and the keyboards. Monitors. I have multiple monitors here. So if I had to do that this year, that'd be a $12,000-$13,000 box. Okay, but if you shut down because you kill the aluminum going to South Korea and Taiwan, you kill the aluminum they need, the finished product they need. Yeah, those chip plants go offline. Okay, everything they were working on that's in the production chain has to be thrown out, completely scrapped. We're 2 or 3 aluminum smelting plants away from an aluminum lockout. Remember, this is how they're always self-conflicting. MAGA is always self-conflicting in their policies. We're going to have the government do the commie move and buy, whatever you want to call it, parts of Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. Then we're going to start a war in Iran that's going to damage the supply chain, making those taxpayers' investments in those companies and the factories down in Arizona, or the Arizona, Texas, and Ohio, making those albatrosses on the economy. Because if you don't have all the parts, all the supply chain delivering to those factories, you can't make fucking chips. And you don't get a chip in 3 days. Okay. It literally takes months to build a chip. Okay. These supply chains from raw product to finished consumer product, you know, you're talking sometimes year or years for the whole supply chain to go from all the copper, all the nickel, all the aluminum, getting all the precursors collected, making it into the finished metal, making it into the form that they need, and to deliver it to the company so they can use it as a part in their system. That's a year-long supply chain minimum. Okay. Those aluminum smelters in the Middle East go down, or Iran spreads out the war and realize, whoo, there's a lot of aluminum smelters in India. What if they decide to start to truck bomb a few more aluminum smelters around the world? Okay, they can totally shut down chip manufacturing, harm both automobile and aviation manufacturing, and cause a cascading failure in the supply chain. All because a crazy preacher in Britain talked to a Scottish girl who was having a seizure, but he thought she was talking to God, magical sky daddy who doesn't exist. She was having a seizure. She was not hearing voices from God. She wasn't. First of all, you wouldn't, according to dogma, you wouldn't hear God. Your head would explode. You would hear one of the Scythians, or you'd hear Gabriel's trumpet, and it's all over. That's about the only two things we would hear under the dogma. Now, you've got the aluminum problem. That's horrible, or it could turn into something very, very harmful for the world. Very harmful to us because we're highly dependent on aluminum. And aluminum is a great material. Don't get me wrong. Aluminum is one of the best materials we have. Okay, unlike plastics, it's completely recyclable. Okay, and I don't know. Like steel, you have a generational use case. You can only use virgin steel for certain applications. You can never use recycled steel for a bunch of stuff. But you can still recycle steel. Okay, you just can't use it for certain purposes. But I think with aluminum, you're fine. You can use it time and time and time again. It's like copper. Just keep melting it down, making a new form, making a new wire. You're good. To addition to oil spikes, aluminum problems, supply chain problems, did you all read the news? Blackstone, the biggest private debt company on planet fucking Earth, cannot pay their bills. Did we just start a war based on a tax break, the rapture, and the largest private debt company going south? Is this why we started a war? On top of, rapey pedos running the government? Because remember, Pete Hegseth says he did not assault the woman in Monterey, California at the Hilton Hotel. Yet he paid her off for $50,000 to keep quiet. It ain't just Trump. Okay. And if you think Trump is bad, wait till Trump drops dead of a stroke at the lectern. No! This is going to happen. Yeah, I mean, oh, by the way, the thing on his neck is shingles. My wife had shingles a little while ago. It looks just like what she had on her back. Okay, so I'm not a doctor. I'm not making a medical diagnosis. I was saying familiarity because I've seen shingles a couple times recently, including with my wife. I'm 90% sure that's shingles. Okay, and a whole bunch of things can cause shingles to occur. It can be anything, including stress, from what the doctor told us. But it's funny. He he should be on massive antivirals right now, and what really helped my wife was CBD. The inflammation and the pain was really addressed well by the CBD, and the doctor recommended it. He goes, "Yeah, take Advil if you have to, but you go ahead and take CBD because like a lot of patients take it with the shingles, and it really works for the pain and the skin irritation." And it did. So yeah, so he's now probably, even though I don't like the guy, I've loved him since the '80s. I wouldn't wish the shingles on anybody. That's horrible. But he's probably got it all the way down his back. That's probably just the top of the rash. He's probably got a big splotch of it. It seems like all over my wife's all upper quadrant of her back. Um, but we've been caught, and now people are suffering from two different conditions. One, complete denial. Oh, it ain't that bad. Oh, there's ways you can minimize the problems. Or they drank the grape Kool-Aid and they think this is the best thing on the planet. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my fucking God. How can you believe this shit? You know, and they say, well, there's probably something bigger with this thing in Iran. I'm seeing this all over YouTube. Well, it's a really stupid move, but maybe there's something bigger. Okay, if there was something bigger, why didn't they go to the House and get a declaration of like they did for Iraq and Afghanistan? They didn't even tell Congress until after they killed the entire top of the leadership in Iran. War is like throwing gold into a pit and saying goodbye to it. Ah, see you later. Most of our debt comes from two things: bailing out the banks, tax breaks for the wealthy, and a hell of a lot of foreign wars. Is that two or three? I don't know, but it was like we don't have $38 trillion worth of debts because of Social Security or Medicare. That's just not true. That's just not true. The existence of those programs does not equal the causality of $38 trillion worth of debt. No, no, it does not. But again, what did they start with this administration, this term? Let's start with more debt. Then let's declare a war and another war and another war and another war and another and another and another and another and another. The entire 82nd Airborne, because, and this is other, these assholes do not know OPSEC. Okay. Scott Bessent, the Treasury asshole, was talking about an attack that was going to occur later that night. And it came true. I just read the news when I got up at 4 o'clock. I mean, was like, there we go. They hit Beirut and Tehran super hard. Bessent was talking about it 12 hours before the attack started. Okay. So then the administration figures, the self-appointed MAGA celebrities don't even fucking care about the airmen who are flying the missions. We're just going to talk about pending missions on live TV on Fox Business News to give them plenty of time to prepare for the attack. And now they want to unsanction. Remember, Iran gave Shahed drones to Russia to attack Ukraine. So we sanctioned the oil because we knew Russia's aggressive war against Ukraine is illegal under international law. So we attack Iran, Russia's supplier, and the first thing we're going to do is unsanction Russia because we're creating an oil crisis. That will put money in Putin's pocket to buy more gear to kill more Ukrainians. Trump just stabbed the Ukrainians in the back for like the 47th time. And his whole Ukraine hate, like, oh, it's World War III. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're claiming Iran has a nuclear weapon and they were going to immediately use the nuclear weapon to strike somebody, then World War III is what you just started. Oh, did you hear that Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Tim Scott, who I call Token, like from South Park, um, they went to the Treasury and they are trying to finagle slash demand from the Treasury that they just by themselves. This is very, very Trumpian. There's no law, there's no act of Congress, there's no statute, but they just want the Treasury to just make up a new formula for capital gains, giving people who file capital gains on their taxes a $250 billion tax break. No law from Congress, no vote in the House, no approval of the Senate. Just two fucking assholes, one vampire, one token, running to the Treasury to try to do a backdoor tax cut. So they started the term with a tax cut. War, 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 war. Just started this war talking about bombing Cuba. Let's get a tax break again in here in the timeline. Are you getting the fucking con yet? America, how fucking stupid are you? Pretty fucking stupid, especially at the conversations I've had this week. There's a lot of people who are purposely being ignorant. Never mind the actual fucking morons. The picture I saw yesterday of the woman in Costco wearing a Trump hat, a Trump t-shirt, Trump sweatpants, gold Trump sneakers, wearing a Trump Let's Make America Great Again with a Garson snake as a cape walking through Costco. I go, if that isn't a sign of mental illness, I don't know what is. Because, like, I am the world's biggest Rush fan. Like, my three biggest bands of all time is Rush, Van Halen, and Led Zeppelin. Bunch of honorable mentions, and I listen to 3,000 different other bands. But I listen to everything. This week when I was coding, I was listening to melodic techno. Ms. Monique from Ukraine. I listened to a couple of her sets. Oh, The Warning just dropped a new track, Kerosene. Go check that out. My whole soundtrack to 2025 was The Warning. Love that band. Straight Up Rock. Gotta love that band. Um, and the whole thing about ingratiating Putin with unsanctioning the oil so he can take more money is Iran is also getting information from Putin to target U.S. troops and U.S. ships. And we're about to unsanction him within, it could be as early as Monday. Because they're in such a panic about oil prices for the war of choice. They started on a whim based on the rapture, because, if you're talking, modern foreign policy in the thermonuclear age, always rely on a fucking con artist from the 19th century from Britain. Oh, and a con artist from Israel who's trying to stay out of jail, and a con artist out of Britain today, Nigel Farage, who is the whole ideological brain behind this shit. The entire MAGA sphere was created in Britain, not America. Nigel Farage's nationalist shit was just Americanized, put into an American dialect by Steve Bannon, and then ramrodded into the brains of Americans. There's a whole pipeline. It goes Farage, Bannon, Trump, Peter Poldier, Daniel Smith in Canada. Yeah, it's a pan-nationalist movement. The authoritarians are winning. And I'm sorry, I don't buy this thing where we have to go in and protect the women and the girls. You don't protect the women and the girls here in America, so shut the fuck up. I wrote an essay a long time ago that said the Dobbs decision that threw out Roe v. Wade will be enforced like the drug war. Okay. When they get tired or there's too much oil price pressure or whatever, they get tired of bombing foreign countries, they're just going to redirect their violence. Okay. I wrote a whole essay about this. They are going to start making military entries into hospitals to save the little babies. Okay. Trying to tell me when you're hiding the Epstein files, did you guys hear about Leon Black, the big financier and friend of dear leader porn star Humper? The accusations that are out, not just in, you know, Twitter posts, but journalistic articles are being written about this. The FBI knew that there was an aggravated battery and a rape, and nobody did about anything. It involved a 13-year-old girl and one of the richest men in the world. They didn't do a fucking thing about it, and up to and including the FBI knew about it. He left bite marks on her genitalia. So aggravated sexual battery on a minor, aggravated battery, maiming, and rape. But you're in Iran trying to protect the little girls. Right, right. Oh, it's okay though, because there's a magical door and a closet in Iran that's going to take us to Narnia, and the Christian Lion King is going to take us all to heaven. Why not that story? Why not Narnia? Why use the rapture? Why not use Lord of the fucking Rings? Oh, we're going to Iran because that's where Mordor is, and we gotta throw the fucking ring back in. Like people who claim like the war in Iran and half the shit they're doing, not even half, most of the shit they're doing is based on some sort of reasonable set of facts. You've got to be fucking kidding me. You have got to be fucking kidding me. Okay? Nothing they're doing is right. Nothing. You know, they're going to block Stanford University from releasing a nasal spray, which acts as a vaccine for multiple airborne diseases, including allergies and the flu and like three other things, COVID included. They want to block it because they got to make America healthy again by letting them get sick and taking away their health care. Why did we have to take away your health care? Why do we have to take away Social Security and Medicare? Because we have to go bomb Iran and make sure their little girls are okay. No, I can already tell you what happens after we invade Iran. We'll be stealing little girls like Putin stole Iranian kids. Stole Ukrainian kids. And many of the little girls from Iran will end up on Epstein Island like the other girls did, or somebody's club, or somebody's New Mexico fucking ranch. You believe for a fucking second this is about protecting little girls? You are such a gullible idiot. I don't know how you do not suffocate when you forget to breathe. Um, by the way, our foreign policy and our foreign relations are going to be destroyed for an entire generation. Every one of our ambassadors we've sent out under Trump 2.0 is a fucking asshole, treating the country they're supposed to be the ambassador to like they're the worst people in the world. They're evil little children who need to be spanked by the Trump administration. Hoekstra is making a fucking ass out of America and Canada. Okay. Charles Kirshner. Jared Kushner's dad is the ambassador to France, a fucking convicted felon. He won't even show up when summoned by the foreign minister of France. I don't want to talk to you. I don't have to. You're the fucking ambassador. That's your job, asshole. Nah, 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 nah. I'm above the French. Okay, fine. Okay. Now the news dropped this morning. Countries in Europe are considering closing their embassies and cutting off diplomatic ties with Israel. I told you that was coming. Norway may be the first to cut off relations with Israel. And going back to what I said the other day, if you elected me president in this next cycle, day one, our relationship with Israel would end. Completely end. We'd have less of a diplomatic relationship or strategic relationship with Israel than we do Somalia. I would drop them like a bad habit. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Yeah. Bye bye. No more Patriot missile. No more welfare. Hey, if you got the money for free abortions, good weed, and universal health care, you're good. You make your own decisions. I'm especially not going to let the lying con artist here use the rapture in Israel as the excuse to spend money we do not have. We're already broke. Why does Israel have such a hold on us and its politicians? That is a very, very good question. It is because of a lobbying group called APAC. Okay. They spend millions and millions of dollars per congressman, lavish gifts, travel, campaign donations, probably some of the backdoor shit too, get jobs for their kids and shit like that. Um, it's just one example how lobbying and lobbyists, corporate lobbyists, have taken over the entire legislative process in Congress. Congress does not write laws anymore. Any congressman that are telling you that they wrote the law is full of shit. And they've been caught. Like it was, I think it was the first Trump administration. Um, this guy presented, far right winger who was a MAGA idiot, presented a bill, said, "Oh, look at this bill I wrote. I did this. I did this. Me, 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 me." Well, then they looked at the lobbyist website. Oh, look, two mirror copies. You didn't write this. The lobbyist wrote it. You just presented it as your own work. We used to call that plagiarism, but I guess in Congress, like insider trading, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. But yes, to answer the question is why does Israel says have a chokehold? There's a couple of factors. The biggest one is lobbying. The second one is religion and people believing stupid, childish stories like the rapture. They literally think there's some sort of holy war Armageddon coming. They started preaching it to the troops. I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was still in the military because nobody ever talked to me like that. I mean, there was a Bible study run by the supply sergeant, the staff sergeant down in the supply room on Thursday nights. Nobody was required to go, but if you want to go to Bible study with after hours, go ahead and go drink tea or coffee in the supply room and read the Bible. I don't care. I'm going to the pub. They've dumbed down Americans so much they think their politics doesn't impact them. It will now. Another insightful set of comments there. Yes, completely agree, and that's why I'm so frustrated. Started with the beginning is I was talking to some people last couple of weeks, bunch of people, and several of them um, had the dumbest responses to what's going on. To I'm above it. I'm a hipster. It doesn't matter to me. Uh, I'm like, well, you're brown, so that does matter to you because if I seize you on the street, they're going to kick the shit out of you, throw you in a gulag so you can live in your own shit and probably get tuberculosis. So it does apply to you. Okay, when they kill the dollar and we go into a currency crisis and they take another set of chunk out of our ass like they did in the mortgage and the credit crisis in 2008, 2009, it's going to apply to fucking you. But then you have the other person like, "Oh, I'm not MAGA, but I'll just go to a MAGA adjacent podcast, and I'll just normalize all this behavior." Well, we had to invade Iran because they're shooting protesters. They're shooting protesters in America. Another shitty excuse. How many excuses are there now? Actually, I think it's in one of my notepad files. I think I'm up to 8 or 9 excuses they've given us. Where I will just trust in the Lord and it will all work out. Yes. Live your life by random roll of the dice. Because the scary thing is, the universe is probabilistic. It's not deterministic. I truly believe that. If you just think that these plans are all laid out in front of you, no, no. I've been in too many weird situations in my life. Things can go sideways in less than a heartbeat. Okay. And no matter how you think your day is going to go and how it ends, that's kind of proven to me with age, time, and some common sense, maybe a little bit of wisdom, that we're a very probabilistic system. Our existence is a probabilistic system. Anything can happen at any moment. There's no guarantees of the future. Um, just saying, oh, Magical Sky Daddy has a path for me. No, no, that's just silly marketing. That's that's like football players who point up after they get a touchdown, which never when they drop the ball or they fumble it and it's returned from a touchdown against them. They never point down. They only point up. They don't want to know the good things. Oh, oh, this touchdown was given to me by God. Well, you had 3 interceptions last quarter. Sh No? No? Well, good young people die, like my uncle at 53 of cancer. Yeah, I've lost a few friends early. Um, um, had a Well, my wife's family friends that my wife's known her almost her whole life. Her first husband dropped dead of a heart attack at 41 years old. I lost one of my good friends back from my police days, dropped dead of a heart attack at 52. No prior signs, no was on medication of heart disease, just was there one moment, not there the next. Yeah, and all these old evil people are still kicking. Yeah, and my wife and I have been talking about that so much. It was like, several babies died of, pertussis and AIDS and cancer, but some of these old evil fuckers are still kicking at 80 and 90 years old. You got to be kidding me. That's what I've been saying for years. If there is a God, she fucking hates us because this is not exactly a utopia. This is not exactly the Garden of Eden, is it? Yeah, so did my brother, Widowmaker at 45. He survived it though. This is going to get worse because, when we fail at the global war, like we failed in Somalia, we failed in Syria, we failed in Iraq, we failed in Afghanistan. Um, we had a couple of battle wins. We lost the war. Okay, it was good we actually shot Bin Laden. I'm completely happy with that. We did the flying carving knife at Al Zawahiri. He's dead too. Okay, those were a couple of good battle wins. Okay, dropping that ISIS leader in Ramadi, good battle win. Did we win the wars? No. Are we going to win the war in Iran? No. Because all Iran has to do to win now is survive. They don't have to take ground. They don't have to transport shit around the world. Okay. Their quality of life won't will be hard, but they'll survive. Can you imagine Americans in a war zone? Oh my God, I didn't get my Dunkin' Donuts this morning. Ah! Now, going back to Blackstone for a second, if Blackstone can't pay their bills and Blackstone goes under, the ripple effects will send us right into a great recession while they opened up a 10 front war of choice. Oh, I never said you couldn't believe. I just can't. It makes no rational sense. Literally, the criminals are taking over the entire planet. Dictators, despots, authoritarians. And we can't even in what's supposed to be the best country on earth and the country God favors. Remember, evangelical politicians always tell us that God loves America and only America, not you. Not you over here, not you over there. He only loves America. If the US gets bombed, where would they hit first? Critical infrastructure or mass casualty soft targets. If they had half a brain, they would hit infrastructure because the sense of fear over time, uh, yeah, like taking out power plants and substations, taking out uh, water treatment plants, um, causing 24/7 crises for it doesn't matter which cities, it doesn't matter. The point of terrorism is to create fear. Okay. But if you really want to go after somebody who somewhere that's already teetering on the brink, and will do the most economic damage, then Iranians, if they really wanted to do the most damage, they would start taking out infrastructure in Texas, because Texas is the 21st century manufacturing hub of North America right now, probably for the rest of the century. You know, the new industrial commercial corridors goes from northern Mexico all the way up to Oklahoma and Nebraska. So you take out a couple of power plants, you take out a couple of water treatment plants, you detonate a few oil wells, especially the fracking wells that are right next to suburban neighborhoods, and just create as much fear as fast as you can, and put the sense into the average person's mind that the government cannot protect them. And if the attacks are successful, especially if a couple of them get away, then, well, your AR-15 didn't protect you either. Look how people acted over toilet paper during COVID. Yeah, and like I said, if the oil spike is already worse than COVID. If several other negative factors pile up on us, then yeah, the toilet paper is just going to be the beginning. It's going to be that people will panic quickly. That's why every dystopian apocalypse movie shows you the department store or the grocery store scene, because we always fear running out of supply. What do you mean by the 2026 election shit? You mean them sending ice to the polls or them seizing ballot boxes? What? Because they're going to run into big legal challenges on that. The Constitution is absolutely black and white, clear who controls elections. It's not the president. There's a half a dozen Supreme Court decisions that also say um, that the president now Congress can pass rules that the states have to follow. Okay, but the president doesn't get to say shit, and that's on purpose. There's in Article 1, there's the election clause. And it defines who runs the elections. The legislative branches of each state. It never mentions the president once. Well, Adeline said not happening or rigged. Um, well, that's what Trump's whole lie about elections is all about. There's no great wave of in-person voting fraud. There's no great wave of mail-in ballot fraud. Okay. And there's a big disparity of the way they're treating the tiny amount of voting frauds or voting ban violations. Um, they're not even remotely punishing people. The guy that forged 13 signatures got 3 years probation. The black woman in Texas who voted Democrat because the voting office told her she was eligible to vote. She had passed her parole time, so she was re-eligible to vote. The judge went crazy on that one. They were like, the voting office told her she could. How the fuck do you put her in prison for 5 years? The appellate court did not like that at all. Um, yeah, but his EOs don't mean anything. Executive orders only apply to the executive branch. No, it does not apply to Congress. It does not apply to the judiciary. It does not apply to the states. Okay, but I'm the one. I mean, I'm the crazy guy that ever go, oh well, you're too politically wonky. No, I told you, tell presidents to shut the fuck up with their executive orders. And I don't care if it's Obama or fucking Trump or Carter or Reagan. I don't give a fuck. You don't write the laws out of the Oval Office. Watch Schoolhouse Rock, you fucking idiots. Congress makes the laws. Yes, that's a huge problem right now. Congress is bowing down, yes, and SOTUS is bending a knee. And the surprising thing is they did not bend a knee because I had the same fear about SOTUS, but they seem to be splitting, and at least two personalities on the court may be different than I assumed. And the two personalities that are showing to be different are Gorish and Comey Barrett. Because the tariff case, Trump got the ever-loving shit kicked out of him on the tariff case, 6-3. Now, every single justice had a reason on the 6 majority side that said the tariffs were completely illegal and unconstitutional, not even remotely legal. Okay? All 6 had different reasons structurally on why they were illegal and or unconstitutional, but they all said it. And that included Gorish, Roberts, and Comey Barrett. Okay. Now Trump goes to the lectern hours later, reads Kavanaugh's butt licking. Now, this is the part where SOTUS is bending a knee. The 3 idiots of the Supreme Court, Alito, the corrupt bribery Thomas. Well, Alito's bribery too. Both Alito and Thomas could be impeached for bribery. It's wide open bribery with those two. Uh, and Kavanaugh, the rapey drunk. Okay. Um, so Kavanaugh writes a minority dissent, and then Trump reads a tiny portion of his dissent, and Trump declares total victory on tariffs. He can do whatever he wants. So this is going to be fun when it recycles back through the district courts, because now they have a sitting decision that they're not going to take Kavanaugh's dissent and say that's the law, because it isn't. The law is the 6 majority that said in all these different ways, under all these different parts of the Constitution, all these different statutes, the tariffs are completely illegal. Okay? Nowhere in that statute he attempted to use said tariffs. Okay? He lost. He lost miserably. And here's the rub about Alito, Thomas, and Kavanaugh. They know better. But yeah, they're carrying water for Trump because they know if Trump leaves and they get a strong LBJ style Democrat or a very strong independent coming into the presidency, they will be impeached and they will be tried in a federal court for bribery. Okay, Kavanaugh's going to get impeached. Okay, because I think you can impeach Comey Barrett but at this point I don't want to impeach her, because she's turned away from the dark side on 2 or 3 huge cases. Okay, not as bad as I thought she was going to be, but you could easily impeach Alito and Thomas for bribery and Kavanaugh for perjury in front of Congress, and then put 3 people that are actually sane and reasonable and will actually look at the law and the Constitution, because they stopped doing that. Thomas stopped looking at the law a long time ago. He looks at ideology. He's Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas, his wife is literally a Nazi hoe lobbyist. So we're talking deep, 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 deep level of corruptions. You know, this is what got me so frustrated talking to a couple of people over the last week was you're either above it, you don't want to pay attention, you don't want to talk politics. Okay, the country is fucking failing. What are we going to talk about? Tiddlywinks? Okay, our kids' future's on the fucking line. Does that not mean anything to you? Do you have no empathy? Or are you just scared and you want to stay out of it because you're afraid? You're just a fucking coward. Nothing that the Trump administration is doing is appropriate. And they get getting told that time and time and time and time and time again. More lawyers that work for Trump are now facing state bar ethics investigations, and they could be disbarred like many of them were from the first term. Now the corruption kicks in. Pam Bondi wants to now claim that U.S. attorneys cannot be held responsible for anything by their state bars, even though there's an act in federal law that requires that. Okay. Have a good morning. So they're not so little of what they're doing, almost nothing they're doing is ethical or moral. Okay. Most of what they're doing is illegal and unconstitutional. And how they're defending it in federal court is by lying to the courts. Not once, not twice, not hundreds of times. Thousands of times per district. Thousands of times per district per month. So you tell me you're above it, it doesn't apply to you, I don't want to talk politics. Um, Incredibly more infuriating when it comes from a military veteran. Because if you think bombing Iran is the only way you can defend this country, you're a fucking surrender monkey. Fuck you. If you think Tomahawk cruise missiles is what makes America safe, secure, and fair, and prosperous and peaceful, you've drinking the Kool-Aid, you've turned into a fucking idiot. And I don't have time in my life for idiots. I'm way too fucking old for that. That's why my wife and I worked so hard. So when we raised our kids, we didn't raise idiots. There's too many of them here already. And every negative that you don't want to see long term, it's all going to be heading in the wrong direction. They're fucking with healthcare. They're fucking with vaccines. They're fucking with medical research. That means people are going to be less healthy. People are going to not live longer lives like every other country, industrialized country on earth. You don't want healthcare. You complain about Canadian healthcare, except Canadians live longer than us. Okay. All right. I think we're really in trouble. We are so close to a point where we are just one more problem away from just rolling ass over tea kettle down the hill. Because this whole thing about Blackstone not being able to pay their bills, they're not paying the exits of their clients. Read that in multiple sources. I already said that, I know, but that's the thing that's sticking to my craw this morning. This goes back to the bank bailouts and the bank crisis, the more and the credit crunch. Nobody could get money. I mean, nobody could get money when it was breaking down, first stages of the breakdown during the bank crisis. Big corporations couldn't even get $1 million overnight loan. That's like me going and buying a freaking medium latte. It's not a big deal. They couldn't even get $1 million overnight. The financial credit markets had just seized up. Okay. So just like 9/11 and the global war on terror, we're going to go into another global war, set of forever endless wars, and we're not even going to make sure that our finances are in order to do it. In fact, we're not even going to make sure we're regulated properly, and we're not we have the right have the mechanisms in place to prevent another credit crisis from occurring. If the credit markets blow up, well, I guess that's okay because it's the rapture. So if I become president, can I start a war in a foreign country because I believe in Odin or I believe in Thor, not from Norse mythology, but from the Marvel comic books? Would that be okay? We're off to war. The economy is under stress. Everybody's retirements, everybody's 401ks, everybody's portfolios are all being vanquished. I didn't like this week. I don't like waking up and finding out I lost 5 or 6 figures worth of money in a day because we're fighting a holy war in Iran because the rapture is the current excuse. Because the rapture is going to save. This is how silly this is. They come up with the excuse of we're going to save the little girls and the women. Never mind the little girls in Epstein files. But we're also doing this because of the rapture, where all the Muslims die anyways. Are you getting the fucking con yet? Come on, America. And it's super silly to see these rednecks pissed off in Oklahoma and Texas because their gas just completely spiked. It went up like some places went up like 50 cents in a couple of days. And people are literally making TikTok and Instagram videos of tearing their Trump stickers off their pickup truck windows or their bumpers and screaming and yelling about gas prices. No shit, Sherlock. And how they didn't get a clue because they don't see the long-term patterns. And the scary thing is forget the toilet paper from COVID. When we start have really structural problems because who fucking knows how high oil is going to go and how high gas and I know we have a glut of oil here. How long can that last? I'd have to ask Matt Rudolph. Um, but it doesn't matter if we have a glut or not because it only took a couple of days of war before you start seeing dime after dime after dime being added to the gas price at the pump. We're already above $5 here. We're going to go back to $7 or $8 for a gallon, which means we're not driving much anywhere. We're not even going to do necessity driving or go somewhere where we know we can charge the hybrid and go back and forth on electricity. Project 2025 was the blueprint. Oh, I don't care. Oh, I'm above it. Oh, I don't want to follow politics. But when they literally wrote it down to you, said is we're going to destroy this fucking country and turned it into a fascist theocratic shit show. But now you're pissed off that gasoline is gone up 50 cents. So how do we get to the midterms? That's the huge thing right now. How do we get to the midterms intact? Because we can get Congress out of the coma. At least we have half a shot. Because the federal district courts are doing a pretty good damn job right now. They're the bulwark that's holding things together right now. SOTUS, imperfect as it is, you got to give them credit for blowing up that tariff decision. But we have to absolutely make it to the midterms. And they're already telling us flat out they want to fuck with the election. But now you're getting some pretty serious feedback. There's veterans groups. They're saying, well, if you want to show up to the polling places, so could we. And I'm like, we don't need any of this. So I guess in the ending part here, I'm going to say, don't give up hope. I had to tell myself yesterday, like, breathe, stay calm, like 10 times. So remember to breathe. Still, we all need to work toward the midterms, but contingency planning is necessary at this time. If you need to fix some problems in your life or in your home or whatever, I would do those now and start realizing that the next couple of years of the economy could get pretty bleak. We could be we can be seeing a repeat of COVID lockdowns or the housing crisis, or maybe a little combination of both. And I hate to see people who actually pay attention and actually care about the future of this country get hurt because they were caught flat footed. Be prepared. Because if we're not, and I think so many people are flying blind right now, if you're not prepared for the hard road ahead, um, you're going to suffer. Your family's going to suffer. Because I can see us spiraling down one more big problem or two significant problems. What if Blackstone's not the only one who can't pay their exits? Is there another one that can't do it? Is there a big PE firm that's about to go under because they lost control of their debt? Just hedge your bets. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying panic. Hedge your bets. Like my wife and I just hedged on currency. We bought some euros and we bought some Canadian dollars. find the hedges you need and support you and you and yours, and build up a little barrier to the bad times, which have a very, very good chance of coming around yet again because none of these policies are making sense. And all you have to do is disrupt infrastructure or just plus the supply chain on top of whatever's going on right now, and you could see a massive downturn. And yeah, a couple of infrastructure interruptions in the right places on top of 10 front, 11 front, who many knows how many fronts wars, how much corruption. Just be prepared. Okay. Well, it's Saturday. Hope you guys get out and do something fun. Hope you got the weekend off. Hope you're enjoying it, do something that clears your mind. Because one thing I definitely live my life by, tomorrow morning could bring better things. So no matter what happens, get to tomorrow morning. Because like ever since the accident in 2007, every morning I wake up, even if I'm in a lot of pain, I just go, woohoo, I'm still here. Okay? Be strong, be safe, stay calm, breathe, be independent, vote independent, run for local office as an independent. And until next time, please think about it.